It was the loudest and quietest the home had ever felt. There was always a sort of happy cacophony in the air, from the camera people setting up in the living room to the hum of conversation and the typical craziness of the Johnston family. However, there seemed to be a tiny but apparent change in energy whenever Anna entered the room lately. She was no longer the intelligent, giggling daughter who enjoyed jumping into the frame of the camera or helping plan family get-togethers. She now frequently entered softly, eyes down, with her bag draped over her shoulder, and proceeded directly to her chamber. Conversations at dinner came and went without her. Her absence lingered like an unanswerable question. Amber was the first to notice. There was no way she could not. One evening, as she cleared the table, she stated, "She's pulling away again," in a worried and irritated tone. "She keeps erecting walls whenever things appear to be going well." Trent leaned back in his chair and looked at her through his glasses. He whispered, "Amber, she's maturing. You have to let them work things out on their own sometimes." Amber didn't respond. Her thoughts were elsewhere, on the girl she no longer seemed to comprehend, even as she scrubbed the counter. Upstairs, Anna was lying on her bed with her phone, looking through texts that gave her a small smile. No one in that house even knew that her reality was shifting in a subtle way. She had discovered a person who accepted her for who she was, not because she was a member of a well-known reality TV family. For Anna, it was a fresh start, although a personal one. Her life wasn't being televised for millions of people for once. She made her own decisions for once. However, it was difficult to conceal secrets in a home like the Johnstons. Privacy was practically impossible because of the cameras, the producers, and her parents' constant surveillance. Nevertheless, she had been accustomed to concealing aspects of herself. She had mastered the art of hiding her heart while smiling for the cameras. She wasn't attempting to act aloof out of animosity. She was attempting to safeguard something valuable, something genuine and brittle. That night, Anna felt both anxious and liberated as she gazed out the window at the Georgia sky as it faded into darkness. Although she had no idea where this path would take her, she was certain that she could not live her entire life according to the dictates of another person. Amber groaned and shut off the kitchen light downstairs. She whispered, "All I want is for her to speak to us." Anna looked at her phone one last time upstairs, grinning at the bright message. "Good night, sweetheart. One day, there won't be any cameras or drama. It will simply be us." "One day," she muttered to herself as she switched off her light. The gentle aroma of pine from the Georgia woods permeated the warm, gentle evening air. Anna's fingers were making circles around the rim of her glass as she sat by the window of a tiny lakeside cafe. The man who saw her, not Anna from 7 Little Johnstons, sat across from her and was the one who helped her forget about cameras, schedules, and family strife. Away from the show's prying eyes, they had met in private. What started off as friendship had developed into something more solid and profound, something Anna didn't need to justify or explain. He listened to her as a lady with her own dreams, not as a famous person or a pressure daughter. The cafe was almost deserted that evening. An antique speaker in the corner played a few gentle tunes. Each table had a candle flickering, its flames reflected in the still lake surface outside. "You don't have to keep running from everything," he continued, leaning forward and smiling slightly. Startled, Anna looked up. "I'm not jogging," she muttered. I need room to be myself. I feel like I'm performing all the time at home." It seems as though they are still monitoring even after the cameras are turned off. His thumb brushed her wrist as he stretched across the table and took her hand. "After that, let's create something exclusively for ourselves. No cameras. There is no pressure. Me and you alone." Simple, real, and more weighty than they seemed, the words hung between them. Anna's gaze grew softer. It wasn't until then that she realized how much she needed to hear that. A gentle breeze blew through the open window as the lake beyond rippled in the moonlight. She experienced an unusual and strange sense of calm. He escorted her to her car after they left the cafe. Except for the faint sound of water lapping against the coast and the hum of crickets, the night was still. "I don't care what anyone thinks," he replied, turning to face her, almost in a whisper. "All of you are what I want. Anna, let's create our own lives." With her heart racing, she froze. The way he stated it seemed like a promise, even though he wasn't proposing yet. They were silent for a long time. Then Anna grinned, a silent, quivering smile that spoke more than words could. "I also want that," she muttered. Two individuals torn between their true selves and their ideal selves stood there in the silver moonlight. Anna didn't sneak in or cover her smile when she got home that evening. Just going to her room, shutting the door and lying on her bed, she gazed up at the ceiling. Unaware that her life had subtly changed, the home was quiet and everyone was asleep. She had a gut feeling that something had changed, something she couldn't reverse. Not yet, it wasn't an engagement. It was something more powerful, a covert vow made beneath the stars that would initiate everything. Weeks passed, and Anna and her boyfriend's secrets started to take shape. It was subtle, delicate, but getting stronger every day. What started out as late-night chats evolved into secret plans and aspirations. In the evenings, Anna stayed in her room with her laptop open and the door locked. She appeared to be studying or altering pictures for social media to anyone else. However, hidden within a folder titled Art Projects were images of lakeside locations, wildflower bouquets, and white outfits. She loved to plan and had always been creative, but this time it wasn't for a family gathering. She wanted it for herself. It was liberating to imagine every detail. An unfilmed ceremony. Not many people, perhaps 10. Soft music, barefoot by the sea, and no performance pressure. Simply love. He would buzz her phone with a message. "I discovered an area by the lake where you can rent little cabins. Do you want me to have a look?" As Anna swiftly typed back, her heart would skip a beat. "Sure, but keep your words to yourself. Nobody is able to know." It was difficult for her to keep secrets from her family. At times, the Johnstons were nearly too close. Every milestone, every feeling, and every occasion was recorded, shared, and spoken about. In a home where reality TV and everyday life were continuously merged, privacy was non-existent. Anna, however, was certain. She wanted something true, something unspoiled this time. She would nod in agreement with topics during family dinners, but her thoughts would stray. She pictured flowers, music, and a white lace dress hanging by an open window while her siblings discussed their day. Occasionally, Anna would smile courteously, but provide evasive responses when Amber brought up filming schedules or family gatherings. She had mastered the art of concealing herself. She saw her image in the mirror one evening while folding laundry in her room. She appeared to be at ease. Lighter. She had not felt this kind of subdued joy in years, but there was a tiny glimmer in her eyes. "This one thing is mine," she muttered to herself, touching her chest. It was too. Though the plans were straightforward, Anna saw them as crucial. Only her boyfriend's cousin, a college acquaintance, and a local officiant who promised to keep everything private would be on the small guest list. There would be no press coverage, announcements, or clues on social media. Her secret became more perilous and real with every step she took. The truth could be revealed with just one incorrect phrase and one inquisitive query. Anna didn't care, though. She wasn't living for the cameras or her parents' approval for the first time in her life. She lived for herself. She also muttered a little prayer to herself as she put her notes and drawings in a drawer before going downstairs. Not to be found yet. It would be her moment to inform the world. Not just now, though. She had to keep it a secret for the time being. Her secret strategy for contentment. When it came to her kids, Amber Johnston had always trusted her gut, but recently, something about Anna's conduct wasn't quite right. The distance was no longer the only factor. It was the small things. Anna's quiet confidence that took the place of her typically acerbic defensiveness, the way she grinned to herself while texting, and the gentle hum in her voice when she arrived home late. Amber sensed that Anna was concealing something, but she was unable to articulate it. On a typical night with pizza boxes on the table, a movie playing in the background, and laughing resonating throughout the space, the family gathered in the living room. Everyone was present, with the exception of Anna. "Your sister is where?" Amber looked at the steps and inquired. Elizabeth gave a shrug. She claimed to be spending time with friends. Amber scowled. "Once more?" "This week. She has gone out 3 times. Rising from his phone, Trent looked up. "Amber, she's an adult. She is permitted to lead a life." Amber looked at him sternly. "A life, of course. Secrets? No, not in my house." However, this time Anna wasn't hiding in her room upstairs. Her heart was still full from spending another evening with him as she drove home in silence, listening to soft music. They had spoken about the future, their future, while strolling by the lake for hours. She was aware that she couldn't yet inform her parents. They wouldn't comprehend. Not right now. Not when every individual action was viewed as a family decision and the cameras were constantly rolling. The lights in the living room were still on when she turned into the driveway. Her stomach grew constricted. Amber was standing by. Pretending not to see the tension, Anna said, "Hey," as she entered. "Are you still awake?" Amber folded her arms. "We must speak." Anna stopped. "How about—" Amber looked into her face. "Regarding you. You've changed. You're preoccupied and secretive." "Anna, what's going on?" Anna paused, carefully selecting her words. "I'm all right, Mom. Simply put, I'm busy. I'm thinking about several things." "That isn't a response," Amber stated firmly. "You've been honest with us all along. Why do you hide?" In the entryway, Trent spoke in a calm but weary tone. "Allow her to breathe, Amber." She claimed to be all right. Amber gave a head shake. "No, Trent. She's not doing well. I sense it." Anna took a deep breath. "Is it not possible for us to achieve this now? Would you please?" Realizing she wouldn't get the facts that evening, Amber let out a quick exhale. "All right. However, I hope you won't regret anything you're concealing." Without responding, Anna turned toward the stairs. As she arrived at her room, her hands shook and she silently shut the door. With tears hurting her eyes, she leaned against it. She wished to avoid causing harm to her mother. All she wanted was to live her own story, one that was exclusively hers and didn't require permission. After standing silently downstairs for a while, Amber muttered, "Trent, she's hiding something." "I am aware of that." Trent put his phone down and sighed. "Amber, she's getting older. We must occasionally allow them." Amber's heart was tense as she turned to face the stairway. "So why does it feel like she's leaving us?" Anna, who was torn between freedom and fear, love and devotion, sat by her window in her room above them, gazing into the darkness. All of a sudden, the house felt smaller than before. For now, her secret was safe. However, the suspicion storm had already started to build. As the first signs of light touched the Georgia sky, morning mist drifted low over the ocean. A silence that only existed before dawn shrouded the lake. With her hands in her jacket pockets and the cold stinging her fingertips, Anna stood at the edge of the dock. She hadn't had much sleep. She couldn't quite put her finger on why, but something about this morning felt different, heavy with expectancy. He claimed to have something special planned and had asked her to meet him early. She didn't ask any questions. She never had to with him. The crunch of gravel beneath the tires reverberated through the silence as his car arrived. He left with the same gentle grin that usually calmed her, the one that helped her forget about the anxiety, the inquiries, and the wary gaze that awaited her at home. He approached her and said, "Hey." Although he spoke calmly, she could tell he was nervous. "Hey you," Anna said, her grin warm but playful. "You get up early." "I couldn't sleep," he acknowledged. "I was thinking about something." Together, they made their way to the end of the dock, where the boards creaked softly underfoot. Pale gold light shimmered in the lake. For a brief while, it was just the two of them and the peaceful world they had secretly created, free from cameras and expectations. Then, with his hands shaking a little as he delved inside his pocket, he turned to her. Her heart skipped a beat. Time paused. "Anna," he said in a steady, low voice, "you've shared everything with the world throughout your life, including your house, your time, and even your privacy. Nobody else should touch this, in my opinion. All I want is this for us." Anna gasped. He produced a tiny velvet box that required no justification. Her heart pounded so violently at the sight of it that she thought she could hear it reverberating across the lake. Slowly he opened it. There was a straightforward gold ring within, tasteful and subtle but profound. With a worried smile, he said, "I don't have a big speech. Just a pledge that I will always love you the way you want me to, discreetly and truly." Before she could stop them, tears filled her eyes. She put her palm to her mouth and let out a little giggle, not because she was amused, but more because she couldn't believe this was true. Before he could even ask the question, she said, "Yes. Yes." On her finger, he placed the ring. It was as if it had been waiting for her the entire time. Anna experienced complete calm at that instant, something she hadn't experienced in years. Storylines, parents, and producers were absent. Only the gentle sound of the river and a love that was, at last, exclusively hers. The world around them gradually woke up as they stood there for a long time. As the sun rose higher and the lake was bathed in gold light, birds started to call. While continuing to gaze at the ring, she whispered, "Make me a promise that we will keep this between us. For the time being." He gave a nod. "For however long you require." The world had changed by the time Anna drove home later that morning. Every tree and every bend in the road appeared to be full of potential. She did not share a photo of the ring on social media. She didn't announce anything. She merely posted a picture of her coffee cup along with a little description to her Instagram story, "New beginnings." The majority of people ignored it. However, a few astute admirers caught the slight shimmer of something gold on her hand. That little sparkle would eventually start a firestorm, even though they were unaware of it at the time. It started with a whisper rather than treachery, as most secrets do. Anna carried her happiness like a secret flame for weeks, following the low-key engagement. The ring was worn under a silver band, so it was barely noticeable unless you looked closely. Her heart lifted every time she saw its glint in the mirror. It served as a reminder to her that she had at last achieved her own goal in life. She had been cautious, only sending texts via private apps, making brief phone calls, and never bringing up plans in front of family members. Even her siblings, who were typically able to read her emotions like a book, were unable to detect any changes. However, secrets are delicate objects. They can be untangled with just one loose thread. It took place in a tiny store an hour away from home on a typical afternoon. Anna had gone shopping with a friend, someone she trusted, but who had little knowledge of the true situation. When Anna's companions saw the ring, she couldn't help but chuckle while they were looking through outfits. "So, when's the big day?" she asked in jest. Anna stopped. With her eyes darting to the nearby shop owner folding clothes, she muttered, "Show." That cannot be said aloud. Her pal lowered her voice and smiled. "I apologize. It simply has a lovely appearance." Anna returned the smile, but it was too late. The proprietor of the store, courteous but inquisitive, had heard enough to speculate. Furthermore, curiosity spreads more quickly than fire in a small town. By the next day, rumors started to circulate through small-town gossip circles and local Facebook groups. "Has Anna Johnston gotten engaged? Have you heard?" "Never. When did that occur?" Perhaps that explains why she has been so quiet lately. A week later, the rumor was picked up by a small entertainment blog which shared a grainy picture of Anna from her social media accounts, cropped to merely reveal the slight sheen on her left hand. The title, 7 Little Johnston Star Anna Secretly Engaged, was straightforward but powerful. Anna had no idea how quickly the story traveled. Fans began analyzing her grins, captions, and posts. They took note of the more subdued tone, the absence of family tags, and the fact that she was no longer featured in group pictures. The phone call then arrived. "What is this I'm seeing online, Anna?" asked Amber in a tight, clipped voice. Anna stopped. "What are you discussing?" Amber let out a long sigh over the phone. "Avoid playing tricks on me. You're engaged, according to some articles. Tell me now whether that is true." For a single heartbeat, Anna hesitated, and the quiet she made said it all. Amber whispered, "Oh, Anna," with a hint of pain in her voice. "Why would you keep this information from your own family?" "Because it belongs to me, Mom," Anna said. "Because I wanted something that wasn't anyone's or the show's." Amber's voice grew softer, but it still shook with shock. This could have been a joint celebration. "No," Anna spoke firmly now. "You would have recorded it." There was silence in the queue. The house felt different that night. Behind closed doors, Amber and Trent conversed softly. In corridors, siblings whispered. Suddenly, as if everyone was acting unaware of what was going on, the cameras were turned away. However, the internet continued to chatter. They were examining every picture Anna had ever uploaded. They were reading each word as a clue. Anna was up in her room, scrolling through the remarks until they were hazy. Her admirers congratulated her. Others accused her of being secretive, selfish, or betraying them. Her gut churned as she put down her phone. Outside, rain started to fall steadily and softly against her glass. She was starting to lose control of the environment she had meticulously and silently created. The ring's gleam was dimmed in the dreary light when she took another look at it. It was still hers, still lovely. For the first time, though, she questioned how long she could maintain that state. The house seemed more compact than before. Anna's every move seemed to reverberate across a hallway full of unanswered questions. She could hear the whispers coming from downstairs. Trent talking in soft voices she couldn't understand, Amber pacing, and her siblings glancing at her door as though it were a thin wall between two worlds. Everything has changed because of the breach. What had been a personal pleasure has turned into a burdensome family secret. And secrets grew like teeth in the Johnston household. That night, with waves of rage flowing from her, Amber stormed into the living room. She waved a phone at Trent, who was sitting comfortably on the sofa, and said, "I can't believe you kept this from us. Are you able to imagine how this feels? To use the internet to learn of your own daughter's engagement?" Trent let out a long sigh and scratched his temples. "She's an adult, Amber," she decided. "She cannot be coerced into sharing it in the manner we desire." Amber's eyes become stony. It goes beyond her status as an adult. It's about family and respect. Even a small part of us could have been incorporated by Anna. Rather, she concealed it as though it were a top-secret endeavor. Siblings muttered in nooks downstairs. While Amber's back was turned, others sent Anna whispered text messages with brief words of support. Others, uncertain of their position, opted for quiet out of fear of upsetting their mother. Anna was sitting at her desk upstairs, listening with her hands clasped over her ring. She sensed every phrase like a hammer without having to see their faces. She heard their voices, their accusations, and their disappointment, but she remained unflinching. She muttered to herself, "I wanted something that's mine," which was both a fact and a defense. Something unaltered. Something tangible. She recalled the sunlight, the wharf, and his shaking hands as he held the box. The recollection gave her confidence and serenity. She had vowed to preserve that happiness and that moment for both herself and him. She also refused to allow anyone to take it away. The silence was broken again by Amber's voice. "I simply don't see why you can't put your trust in us, Anna. We have always supported you." With her fists clutched at her sides, Anna stood up at last. She stated firmly, her voice steady despite her heart pounding, "It's not about trust. It comes down to decision. I didn't keep something from you to harm you. This one thing, this love, is mine, so I kept it hidden. Not to the blog entries, not to the cameras, and not to anybody else." Trent's shoulders began to relax a little as he watched in silence. Tears glistened in Amber's eyes, but her lips were squeezed together, torn between love and rage. The house was silent for the first time in a different sense. The silence of limits set, of unsaid lines drawn. Anna had come out to assert her claim to the family's evolving story. The wind outside shook the windows, a subliminal reminder that even the smallest flaws may cause a hurricane. However, Anna sensed a glimmer of something more powerful. Bravery. She had decided. She had set a boundary for herself. The family would now have to choose between respecting it and stepping over it. The aroma of budding wildflowers filled the crisp, sweet morning air. Except for the delicate rustle of leaves and the gentle lap of water on the dock, the little lakeside cabin was silent. With her dress falling loosely around her legs and her hair loose and untangled, Anna stepped onto the weathered wooden boards. It was easy. Close. It was flawless in a manner that family drama and cameras could never portray. Only her boyfriend, a close college buddy, and a local officiant who had promised to keep the event a total secret were among her few guests. No cameras, no reporters, no extended relatives. Only those who were most important in that one moment. Her heart pounded with delight rather than terror. She had carved out this world for herself, a life that was all hers. With a little smile on his lips, he walked over to her and looked into her eyes while his hands trembled a little. The importance of the day appeared to weigh heavily on every second as time seemed to drag on forever. "Are you prepared?" he said quietly. Anna's eyes gleamed as she nodded. More than ever before. At the lake's edge, where the water reflected the sky in the morning, they stood. Soft, unadorned vows that promised love without intervention and trust without expectation were spoken back and forth. The tiny circle of gold felt like a cosmos trapped in one tiny band when he put the ring on her finger. Nothing else was there for a minute as Anna's hand was in his, nor the viewers or cameras of the broadcast, nor the websites that speculate, not the family that is waiting for answers. They were alone. The officiant spoke in a low, almost ceremonial tone before the moment they had been anticipating arrived. "Now you can kiss." Feeling the warmth and assurance of a love that had been battled for in secret, Anna leaned into him. Far from the maelstrom of expectations and judgment, the kiss was fleeting but eternal, a moment frozen in time. Later, Anna couldn't help but smile at the prospect of life as they strolled along the dock, the gentle water under them glistening in the morning light. Family conflicts, public interest, and the constant scrutiny that accompanied her reality TV experience would all present difficulties. But she was untouchable just now. She uploaded a single picture on her private account, showing her ring gleaming in the sunlight, her hand grazing his, and the sun glinting off the sea. No caption, not a word, just the truth. She also muttered, "This is mine," in her heart. We own this. The world could wait. The air in the Johnston house was unusually quiet the morning following the ceremony, the kind of silence that precedes a break. Her phone was vibrating non-stop on the nightstand when Anna woke up. Messages, missed calls, tag posts, headlines, and dozens of other notifications flashed across the screen. Before she even opened the first one, her stomach dropped. Star of 7 little Johnstons, according to reports, Anna Johnston secretly got married. Only a few blurry, distant pictures taken by someone who must have seen her at the lake, possibly a local who knew who she was, were used in the piece. Within hours, the news went from gossip pages to mainstream outlets, like wildfire. The remarks were unrelenting. Without her family, why would she do it? Amber must be very angry. Well done for pursuing her own goals in life. Anna's phone was shaking in her hands as she sat on the edge of the bed. Her carefully guarded secret had suddenly come to light. She could already hear the fallout starting downstairs. Amber's piercing and passionate voice reverberated throughout the home. "I predicted this would occur." She didn't consider. She seemed indifferent to the impact this would have on us. Trent spoke in a quieter, softer tone. "Amber, she has matured. She cannot be continuously viewed via lens." It felt as though years of stress were being pulled behind the words. Everyone's attention was on Anna when she eventually arrived downstairs. Her siblings lingered in the kitchen, torn between interest and unease. With her arms folded and her eyes sparkling with rage and anguish, Amber stood in the middle of the room. "Is that accurate?" she said softly. Anna gave one nod. "Yes." Amber's mouth opened, but nothing came out. As if attempting to make sense of something that didn't fit, she gently shook her head. "You still believe this was something to hide after everything we've done for you and everything we've shared?" Anna's throat became constricted. Hiding wasn't the point. It had to do with living, pertaining to possessing something that wasn't for everyone. Amber's voice cracked. "But, Anna, we are your family." Anna looked up at her. "I also adore you. However, family does not need me to sacrifice every aspect of who I am." The ensuing hush was deafening. Her siblings remained motionless as they took in the information. When Trent finally spoke, he was firm yet steady. "She is correct, yet we can still feel upset. It is okay for her to live her own life. She made this decision." Amber turned away, her feelings too mixed up to sort out. She muttered, almost to herself, "Then she can handle the cameras when they call." And they did. Within hours, the production crew contacted Anna to inquire about her availability to film a reaction segment for the upcoming season. Anna made no hesitation at all. She said plainly, "No, this isn't for television." Anna sat outside beneath the stars that night as the house fell into a tense silence, her ring gleaming dimly in the moonlight. She discovered a calmness that came from selecting herself amidst the cacophony of the world. Her phone buzzed once more, and it was a message from him asking, "Are you okay?" With a little smile, she typed back, "Yes. They are now aware." A pause. Then he responded, "All well. We can now come out of hiding." The cool night air touched Anna's face as she closed her eyes and relaxed back in her chair. In her heart, nothing had changed, even though the world might have discovered it, even though it meant standing by herself for a while. She had chosen freedom, truth, and love. She also discovered something she had never experienced before. She was no longer terrified as the moonlight danced across the lawn. Weeks went by, like the final waves of a storm falling over still water. The mayhem that had previously encircled the Johnston residence gradually started to subside. The news stories slowed down. There were less comments. Additionally, the house didn't feel like it was holding its breath for the first time in months. Anna was no longer using social media. She stopped reading gossip blogs and watching videos of others making assumptions about her decisions. Together with her spouse, she had created a small world that included laughter and a comfortable flat just outside of town filled with used furnishings. The kind of straightforward tranquility she had always desired. Healing, however, took time. It wasn't. There was still a modest but genuine gap between her and her family. The calls were short. Messages are courteous. Every discussion skirted the issue that had caused them to break, until she received a message one evening that caused her to halt. Amber sent it. "Tonight for dinner? Only us." After a prolonged period of staring at the screen, Anna typed back the solitary word, "Okay." She took the same winding road she had driven 1,000 times before to the family house the following evening. But this time her pulse pounded in a different way. Amber was in the kitchen when she arrived, preparing like she often did when she couldn't think of anything to say. For a while, neither of them talked. The silence between them was filled with the sizzling of food and the clinking of dishes. Then Amber whispered, "You look happy." Anna gave a small smile. "Yes, I am." Amber gave a slow nod. "I wanted you to have that, even if I didn't do it correctly." Anna blinked, taken aback by how quiet her mother's voice was. She said, "I didn't handle it right either. I simply needed something that belonged to me first, prior to it belonging to everyone else." Amber's eyes glistened as she turned. "Anna, you've always been self-sufficient. I suppose I simply wasn't prepared for the whole implications of that. For a considerable amount of time, They stood there as two women regaining their mutual understanding rather than as mother and daughter engaged in a power struggle. Later, they had a meal at the ancient wooden table that had been the scene of years of laughing, tears, and family tales. It was genuine, even though it wasn't flawless. And it was sufficient. Amber leaned across the table and squeezed Anna's hand before she departed. "This time, I want to meet him properly," she stated. Anna's heart grew as she grinned. That is how he would like it. The night air outside was cold and smelled of dirt and pine. Anna stared up at the stars that were strewn over the Georgia sky as she made her way to her car. This was the same sky that she had stood beneath on her wedding day and that had witnessed her family's breakup and eventual reconciliation. At that moment, she understood that healing meant more than simply forgetting what had happened. It was about taking one silent step at a time and going forward. Her spouse was waiting on the porch with 2 tea mugs when she arrived home. "How did it go?" he inquired. With a gentle smile, Anna picked up one of the mugs. It went well. The world was quiet as they sat together in solitude. Once more, the future seemed open, uncertain, yes, but theirs to mold. Anna felt whole for the first time in a long time. Her family was gradually returning to her, and she had her peace and her love. She was certain that her story wasn't about rebellion as the porch light flickered against the darkness. It has to do with freedom, and she understood that the purest kind of love was freedom. Let us know in the comments. And stay tuned by subscribe to our channel to get more updates like this. Thank you, bye guys.